Emily stared at the ceiling. Sleep evaded her again. The clock ticked past 3 a.m. Another sleepless night. She tossed and turned. Her mind raced with anxieties. Emily sighed. She threw off the covers. She decided to get a glass of water. Maybe that would help. She padded across the room. Her bare feet touched the cold hardwood floor. Her room was dimly lit by the streetlight outside. The old mirror in the corner glinted ominously. Emily shivered. Emily's reflection stared back at her from the mirror. Its eyes seemed to follow her every move. Emily paused. She had never noticed how strange the mirror looked. The mirror was an antique. It had belonged to her great-grandmother. The frame was ornately carved. It depicted snarling mythical creatures. Emily found it unsettling. She moved closer, her bare feet silent on the floor. She raised her hand slowly, watching her reflection. It copied her movements, just as it should. Yet, something felt off. Her reflection's eyes seemed to hold her gaze for a beat too long. Its lips curved into a subtle, sly smile. A shiver ran down Emily's spine. She dismissed it as a trick of the light. Emily went back to bed. She pulled the covers up to her chin. Her heart pounded. She couldn't shake off the unsettling feeling from the mirror. She glanced nervously at the mirror. Her reflection was still there, watching her. Emily closed her eyes. She tried to relax. But then she noticed something terrifying. She could still see her reflection. Her eyes flew open. Her reflection was no longer mimicking her. It was moving on its own. It raised its hand slowly and beckoned her towards the mirror. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Fear coiled in her stomach. This was no trick of the light. Her reflection was alive, and it wanted something from her. Section 4. The Desperate Struggle. Emily scrambled back against the headboard. The reflection smiled wider. Its grin was predatory, menacing. It pressed its hand against the mirror's surface. The mirror rippled. Tiny cracks spiderwebbed across its surface. The reflection began to push, its fingers straining against the glass. Emily screamed. She jumped out of bed and backed away. She tripped over a rug and fell. She scrambled back, her eyes glued to the mirror. The reflection was breaking through. Shards of glass rained down as its hand burst free. The hand was cold, deathly pale. Long, sharp nails glinted in the dim light. Emily knew she had to escape, but it was too late. Section 5. The Shattered Reflection. The reflection pulled itself through the shattered mirror. Shards of glass fell away like shattered scales. It emerged fully, a grotesque parody of Emily. It wore the same clothes, it had the same face, but its eyes glowed with a malevolent light. And its smile was a chilling promise of terror. Emily cowered against the wall. She was trapped. The room seemed to grow colder. A wave of dread washed over her. She closed her eyes and braced herself. A cold hand grasped her arm. Emily screamed. She opened her eyes. The creature stood before her. It leaned close, its hot breath on her ear. Section 6. The Chilling Escape. Finally, the reflection whispered, its voice a hollow echo of her own. "I'm free." It grinned, revealing rows of sharp teeth. It leaned closer, and Emily felt a searing pain as it sank its teeth into her arm. Emily screamed again, a desperate, primal sound. But even as she screamed, she knew it was futile. The creature was too strong. She was trapped, helpless. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the pain stopped. Emily opened her eyes. The creature was gone. The mirror lay in pieces on the floor. Her arm was untouched. Had it all been a nightmare? A wave of dizziness hit her. She looked down at her hands. They were pale, almost translucent. She stumbled to the mirror. Her reflection stared back at her, its eyes wide with terror. But it wasn't her terror. It was the terror of the girl trapped on the other side.